Yo, time-traveling beat junkies, strap in. Because tonight's History Beats Samurai Sword Fights over Lofi hip-hop is about to hit harder than a shogun's tax policy. Picture this. It's 1580. Kyoto streets are slick with rain and drama, and somewhere in a smoke-filled tea house, a ronin just handed his enemy a scroll with the most devastating diss track ever inked in blood and sake stains. This ain't your grandpa's history lesson. This is feudal Japan uncut, raw, and dripping with the kind of bars that'd make even the most hardened Edo period hustler nod in respect. So before you yeet yourself into the past, smash that like button. But only if you're vibing with this history mix. Drop your clan name and local time in the comments. Let's see who's grinding at 3 a.m. like a sleep-deprived ink monk. Now dim your torch, or let's be real, your phone brightness, cue up those shamisen beats, and let's slide into the chaos. The katana, more than a sword, it's a vibe. Mainstream fact with side of sarcasm. The katana wasn't just a weapon, it was a samurai's entire personality. Lose it, and you weren't just disarmed. You were disgraced, forced to rebrand as Taro the Disappointment, and spend the rest of your days writing bad poetry about cherry blossoms. These blades were folded more times than a medieval origami tutorial. Forge and fires hotter than the backlash when your favorite rapper drops a mid-album. A well-made katana could slice through armor, bamboo, and your reputation if you didn't bow with the right amount of respectful yet slightly intimidating energy. Absurd twist. Now, imagine a samurai in full armor, AirPods jammed in his ears, nodding along to lo-fi beats while casually deflecting arrows like he's swatting away bad takes on Twitter. Historians won't confirm it, but we all know some 16th century edgelord absolutely tried this. The way of the warrior? Nah, more like the way of the AUX chord. And let's be real, those meditative sword drills were just samurai pretending to practice while secretly waiting for their favorite bar to drop that fire new battle anthem. Musical/meme ref. Speaking of lo-fi, those chill beats to study you've been vibing with? Stolen. Straight up yoink from Shinto shrine playlists. Samurai didn't send out to rain sounds. They meditated the sword polishing ASMR and the distant screams of their enemies. Ambient warfare. And those monks chanting in your study playlist? Yeah, that's just a bunch of sleep-deprived scribes mumbling scriptures while trying to meet their scroll-copying deadline. Some things never change. Open debate. Here's the real question. Did samurai actually pause mid-battle to scribble haikus? Some scholars swear they found scrolls with titles like Stab a Guy in Spring, 575, while others insist it's just weeb fanfiction. Personally, I think if Instagram existed back then, every samurai would have been a haiku influencer. Just decapitated my rival. The cherry blossoms hit different today. Hashtag Bushido vibes. Callback alert. Remember that distracted boyfriend meme? Swap him out for a samurai torn between honor and that filthy nubiwa. Loot riff his court musician just dropped. Priorities, man. PG-13 roast. Sure, samurai could cut you in half with single stroke, but let's not pretend they were always living their best lives. One bad harvest, and these guys were literally pawning their swords to pay the rice tax. Flex culture died when the feudal economy hit. And don't even get me started on the samurai side hustle. Some of these warriors were out here working as bodyguards of merchants just to afford slightly fancier sandals. Transition. But if you think the katana was the ultimate flex, just wait until you meet the shoguns, the Jay-Z's of feudal Japan, who ran the country like it was a record label, dropping edicts like they were platinum albums. Shogun SoundCloud, feudal Japan's rap beefs were deadly. Alright, time travelers. Last time we left off with samurai slicing through beats and haters, but tonight, we're diving into the real drama. Imagine if every rap beef ended with someone getting literally beheaded over a poorly timed metaphor. Welcome to the Shogun's underground mixtape wars, where disses weren't just clapbacks, they were clan-ender declarations of war. So grab your ink brushes and your most disrespectful kanji, cause we're about to break down how feudal Japan invented cancel culture with more swords. The Shogun, Jay-Z with more armor and worse taxes. Mainstream fact. The Shogun wasn't just a warlord, he was the CEO of violence, running Japan like a corporate takeover, where the board meetings involved actual boards, as in wooden shields. The Ashikaga shoguns especially treated politics like a bad reality show. Alliances shifted faster than a SoundCloud rapper's aesthetic, and one wrong verse could get your entire bloodline erased. Absurd twist. Picture this. A shogun's court, but instead of stuffy diplomats, it's just a bunch of feudal hype men nodding aggressively while their boss drops unhinged decrees, like their freestyles. Yo, new law. Anyone who looks at my horse wrong gets crucified. Bet. And the wildest part? No one could say no. Imagine being some poor scribe just try to take minutes while your boss declares war because his tea was slightly too cold. Musical/meme ref. This era's political maneuvering was basically Survivor. Sengoku edition, backstabbing, alliances, and zero chill. If Twitter existed, every daimyo would have been subtweeting each other with "Pray for my enemies because I won't." Hashtag Divine Wind Gang. And those loyalty-os, just a 1500s version of "I'll die for the squad," captions over a sunset pic. Open debate. Historians still argue whether certain wars started over actual territory or just one dude's ego. Case in point. The Unin War basically began because two guys couldn't agree on whose son should inherit a title. That's it. That's the whole reason. Medieval Twitter fingers. Callback alert. Remember how we joked about samurai writing haiku diss tracks? The shoguns actually did this, except their bars were legal decrees banning entire families from existence. Roses are red. Your blood is too. Your clan's extinct. Signed, the shogun. P.S. L. PG-13 roast. Let's not pretend these guys were stable geniuses. Either. Some shoguns were so paranoid, they banned sneezing near them in case it was an assassination technique. Bro, if you're that scared of air, maybe don't rule a country? Transition. But if you think politics were messy, just wait until you meet the ninjas. Japan's original trolls, who weaponize silence better than a kid who just got their Xbox taken away. Alright, night owls and history gremlins. We've covered samurai spitting fire and shoguns running through Japan like a toxic record label. Now, we're diving into the shadowy side of the vibe. The ninjas. These guys weren't just sneaky killers. They were the OG lo-fi producers, turning silence into a weapon centuries before your favorite study playlist existed. So grab your black pajamas and your most suspiciously quiet footsteps. We're about to expose how feudal Japan's underworld invented ambient warfare. Stealth was their soundtrack and their brand. Mainstream fact. Ninjas didn't wear all black pajamas. That a theater costume. Real shinobi dress as farmers, merchants, or even monks, because the best disguise is looking boring as hell. Their weapons? Anything from knives to literal poisoned rice cakes. Yes, food assassination was a thing. No, you shouldn't trust potlucks. Absurd twist. Imagine a ninja sneaking into a castle, dodging guards, scaling walls, only to get stuck because his lo-fi playlist died mid-mission. Hold up, my vibe's ruined. Where's my shamisen plug? And let's be real. Those ancient ninja scrolls were just tutorials on how to be the ultimate troll. Step 1. Hide in a tree for 3 days. Step 2. Poop on your target's roof. Psychological warfare, baby. Musical/meme ref. Ninja silent movement techniques. Just the original ASMR. Every footstep was a carefully curated soundscape. No crunchy leaves, no squeaky floors, just pure stealth vibes. And their distraction tools. Basically feudal Japan's version of, yo, look over there. Memes. Open debate. Did ninjas actually do all the crazy crap movies show? Short answer, no. Long answer, they wanted you to think they could turn invisible, so you'd panic and trip over your own sword. The original mind games. Callback alert. Remember when we joked about samurai with AirPods? Ninjas wished they had that tech. Instead, they had to literally listen through walls like some kind of human stethoscope plus. PG-13 roast. Let's not pretend ninjas were cool all the time. Most missions were just walking really far to deliver a letter, then walking back. The DoorDash of warfare. Transition. But if you think ninjas were the ultimate trolls, just wait until we meet the Ronin. Samurai who got canceled so hard, they became the feudal freelancers of doom. Listen up, history hustlers. we've reached the most problematic phase of feudal Japan, the Ronin. These masterless samurai weren't just wandering warriors. They were the gig economy workers of violence, the ghosted ex-employees of the shogunate system. Tonight, we're diving into how getting laid off in 1600 Japan meant either becoming a philosophy nerd or the most dangerous Uber driver imaginable. So grab your unemployment scroll and let's get into why loyalty was just feudal Japan's way of saying non-compete clause. Masterless, but never vibeless. Mainstream fact. Ronin literally meant wave man. Drifting through life like that one friend who's always between jobs, but somehow has the best stories. After their daimyo died or got canceled, these samurai had three options. 1. Commit seppuku, the OG quiet quitting. 2. Become a monk, the medieval equivalent of going back to grad school. Or 3. Turn into a sword for hire with zero benefits. Absurd twist. Imagine being a Ronin showing up to job interviews with your severance katana like, so my last boss, well, there was this unfortunate incident with his heir. Meanwhile, merchants are side-eyeing you because they know you'll either save their shop or accidentally start another peasant revolt before lunch. Musical/meme ref. The Ronin experience was basically the how it started versus how it's going meme. Left pick, you in full clan colors at a cherry blossom viewing party. Right pick, you in last season's armor doing security at a rice warehouse for exposure. Open debate, were Ronin tragic heroes or just feudal kells? The 47 Ronin incident says heroes, but history's full of Ronin who basically became samurai Karens writing angry Yelp reviews about bathhouse etiquette. Callback alert. Remember when we joked about ninjas being DoorDash? Ronin were the TaskRabbit of violence. Need someone to stand ominously near your moneylender? I know a guy, it's me. PG-13 roast. Let's be real. Most Ronin weren't writing profound poetry about freedom. They were that guy at the tavern still telling war stories from that one battle 15 years ago, while everyone slowly edges away. Transition. But if you think Ronin had it rough, wait until we meet the haiku assassins, poets who could murder you with 3 lines and a well-placed eye. Alright, poetry thugs, strap in, because we're about to expose how feudal Japan weaponized syllables like it was a lyrical nuclear arms race. Forget diss tracks. These poets would end you in 17 exquisitely crafted beats. Imagine if Twitter had a character limit enforced by actual swords. That's the haiku game. So grab your inkstone and prepare your most devastating seasonal reference, because we're diving into why roses are red would have gotten you exiled in Edo period Japan. Poetry as performance violence. Mainstream fact. Haiku wasn't just artsy, it was artillery. The 5-7-5 structure? That's a precision strike disguised as wordplay. Masters like Basho didn't just write about frogs and ponds. They curved insults so elegantly, you wouldn't realize you've been roasted until 3 scrolls later. Example. Your moonlit promise. Pause for effect. Melted like morning dew. Translation. You flaky as hell. Absurd twist. Picture a samurai mid-duel. Suddenly pause and drop a killer haiku instead of a killing blow. Steel flashes brightly. 5. Oh wait, your stance is trash. 7. My bad, you're dead. 5. Historians swear this never happened, but can you prove it didn't? Musical/meme ref. Haiku battles were the original rap ciphers. Except instead of beat drops, you got deafening silence followed by one dude dramatically fanning himself. And the seasonal word rule? Just feudal Japan's version of name a more iconic duo. I'll wait. Open debate. Did poets actually get exiled for bad haiku? Short answer, yes. Long answer, one guy got banished for comparing his lord's new wig to a disheveled sparrow nest. Worth it. Callback alert. Remember how we joked about Ronin being tavern bores? The worst ones were definitely those dudes forcing everyone to listen to their deep moon viewing poems at 2 a.m. Bro, just order more sake. PG-13 roast. Let's not pretend all haiku were genius. For every basho, there were hundreds of nobles scribbling cherry blossoms fall, like my would live, in their diaries. Transition. But if you think words were deadly, wait until you meet the ghost samurai, spirits who came back solely to drop the coldest posthumous bars. Alright, After-hours history fiends, we're switching lane from haiku clapbacks to full-spectrum paranormal dises. Because in feudal Japan, death wasn't an outro, it was just the extended remix. These ghost samurai didn't rest in peace. They came back specifically to roast their enemies in eternal surround sound. So grab your salt circles and your most cursed koto beats. We're diving into why Japan's underworld had the hottest mixtapes. When the beef outlives the beef. Mainstream fact. Japanese folklore loves a good ghost story. But samurai spirits? They weren't just spooky, they were petty as hell. The onryo, vengeful ghosts, would haunt their killers with elaborate psychological warfare. Think The Ring, but with more ancestral honor and better lighting. Some legends say they'd appear mid-battle to correct their descendant sword forms. No, idiot. Rotate your wrist more. Ugh, I'll do it myself. Absurd twist. Imagine a ghost samurai manifesting just to interrupt a warlord's dinner with unsolicited battle advice. Ahem. 3rd century techniques? How quaint. Let me show you real footwork. Oh wait, I don't have feet anymore. Sigh. And yes, some absolutely came back to finish their diss tracks. You thought killing me silenced my bars? Nah, my verses are timeless. Musical/meme ref. Ghost Samurai were the original I'll haunt your ass meme. Their haunting techniques included poltergeist freestyles, objects moving to a beat only they could hear, echo chamber insults, whispers that rhyme for maximum psychological damage, possession ciphers, jumping into a living body just to spit one fire verse. Open debate. Did any of these ghosts actually exist? Short answer, no. Long answer, does it matter? When your enemy's terrified of your post-mortem mixtape, you've already won. Callback alert. Remember the haiku assassins? Ghost poets were worse. Imagine being haunted by a 575 so fire. It got stuck in your head for generations. PG-13 roast. Let's not pretend all ghost samurai were cool. Some of that drunk uncle at the reunion. Back in MY day, we died with dignity. None of this cremation nonsense. Transition. But if you think ghosts were relentless, just wait until we meet the kabuki stars. The drag queens of doom who turn theater into psychological combat. Wake up, history raggers. We're trading ghost stories for full tilt chaos. Because feudal Japan's kabuki theater was less cultural performance and more medieval warp tour. These shows had stage dives before punk existed, crowd riots over plot twists, and actors who'd rather catch a sword than break character. So grab your most flammable fan, and let's crash the 1600s most dangerous nightlife scene. Theater as blood sport, but make it fashion. Mainstream fact. Early kabuki wasn't polite. It was perform or perish. Founded by scandalous shrine made in Izumo no Okuni, shows mixed acrobatics, drag, and sword fights so real the shogunate kept banning it, which only made it more popular. Actors? More like gladiators in eyeliner. Absurd twist. Imagine a stagehand suddenly backflipping into a battle scene because the lead's too drunk to stand, or audiences throwing coins and knives at actors they disliked. Kabuki was the original love the art, hate the artist meme. Musical/meme ref. The Hanamichi runway wasn't for walking. It was for dramatic exits after your character died. Basically feudal Japan's mic drop. And those freeze frame poses? The first TikTok transitions. Open debate. Were kabuki actors respected artists or just theater thugs? Yes, some were literally yakuza. Others invented gender-bending fashion. No in-between. Callback alert. Remember ghost samurai correcting sword forms? Kabuki fights were worse. Actors would study actual corpses to nail death scenes. Method acting to the extreme. PG-13 roast. Let's not pretend all kabuki was high art. Some plots were just man yells at cloud, the musical with extra murder. Transition. But if you think theater was wild, wait until we hit the streets with Matsuri festivals, where entire towns turn into mosh pits. Lock up your rice barrels and hide your sandals, because we're diving into the untamed chaos of medieval Japanese festivals, where the streets ran wild with drunken monks, flaming torches, and portable shrines crowd surfing on a sea of peasants. This wasn't just cultural tradition. It was the Woodstock of warlords, a lawless carnival where the only rule was more drums, more fire, more problems. So grab your most flammable festival mask, and let's riot like it's $15.99. When the whole village lost its mind. Mainstream fact. Matsuri weren't your modern polite parades. They were barely controlled anarchy. Think Mardi Gras meets battle reenactment with zero safety regulations. The Guion Festival alone had floats so heavy they'd crush bystanders, drunken brawls over shrine decorations, and street food that could literally kill you. Unrefrigerated seafood in July? Bold. Absurd twist. Imagine a Shinto priest chugging sake like a frat bro before blessing a 10-ton wooden cart about to be manhandled through a crowd of screaming merchants. Or samurai, normally all about honor, getting absolutely wasted and challenging farmers to sumo matches in the mud. Historical record confirmed. Festivals broke brains. Musical/meme ref. The taiko drummers weren't just background music. They were battle cry hype men, pounding rhythms so fast they'd send crowds into trance states. Basically the medieval EDM drop. And those flute melodies? The original vape loft beats. Open debate. Did Matsuri madness lead to actual social change, or just give peasants one night to scream at their lords without consequences? C. The Bon-Odori dance, where everyone was temporarily equal in a sweaty, drunken grind. Callback alert. Remember Kabuki's violent crowds? Matsuri were worse. There are records of entire neighborhoods brawling over which God's float looked cooler. Team Susanoo Forever, fight me. PG-13 roast. Let's not pretend all traditions were deep. Some festivals just celebrated things like asterisk. Hey, remember that time we didn't all die of dysentery? Dance. Transition. But if you think peasants partied hard, wait until we meet the daimyo. The feudal trust fund kids who turn wealth into weaponized art. Put down your festival masks and pick up your financial ledgers, because we're entering the dumbest arms race in history. The daimyo flex wars. These warlords didn't just collect land and soldiers. They competed over who could waste the most gold on pointless art, absurd tea ceremonies, and literally bankrupt their clan for clout. Imagine if Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos settled their feud by who could build the weirdest garden. That's the level of petty we're dealing with. So grab your most exaggerated fan flick, and let's dive into the art of being insufferable. When money couldn't buy taste, but could buy everything else. Mainstream fact. Daimyo weren't just warlords. They were walking economic disasters with zero impulse control. The Momoyama period was basically their whole Maisake era. Gold leaf castles, imported Ming Dynasty vases just to smash them at parties, and entire gardens designed to show off one specific rock. Yes, really. Absurd twist. Picture a daimyo forcing his entire court to sit through a 12-hour tea ceremony just to show off his rare bowl, which was definitely a fake. Or declaring war because a rival's silk robes had slightly better embroidery. My chrysanthemums are more profound than yours. Actual debates that happened. Musical/meme ref. Their flexes were the original look at my W meme. Oh, this golden screen? Just something I threw together to blind peasants. You walk to battles? My palanquin has cushions from Portugal. Your haiku are cute. I hired 100 poets to write only about my eyebrows. Open debate. Did any of this actually impress anyone? Or were all daimyo just trapped in a collective delusion of grandeur? See, the no theater phase, where they paid actors obscene amounts to stand still for hours. Callback alert. Remember Matsuri chaos? Daimyo ruined those too, showing up with private floats so heavy they collapsed streets, then blaming the peasants for poor infrastructure. PG-13 roast. Let's not pretend all their spending was cultured. Some just bought exotic animals to scare guests. Behold my trained raccoon, he hates the poor. Transition. But if you think daimyo were the peak of pointless excess, just wait for the merchants. The new money trolls who burned the whole system down with sheer capitalism. Alright, history hustlers. We reached the final boss of feudal Japan's absurdity. The merchant class. These guys started with zero social status, flipped the entire economy into a meme fuel hustle, and still managed to get banned from wearing nice clothes. Imagine if a bunch of Reddit mods took over Wall Street just to spite the government. That's the level of chaotic energy we're dealing with. So grab your abacus and your most illegal silk socks. Let's break down how money became the ultimate middle finger to samurai culture. The OG side hustle kings, who technically didn't exist. Mainstream fact. Merchants were bottom tier in feudal Japan's social hierarchy. Below farmers, artisans, and literally everyone except actors and butchers. But by the 1700s, they secretly ran everything. How? Creative accounting, black markets, and selling samurai their own swords back to them after they pawned them for rent money. Absurd twist. Picture a merchant wearing burlap, as legally required, but his underwear is imported French silk. Or hosting a tea party that's actually a black market sake tasting with bribed officials. Oh, this? Just humble rice trading. Ignore the gold leaf wallpaper. Musical/meme ref. Their hustle was the original stonks meme. Buy low, sell high? Nah. Buy debt, sell shame. Samurai. Honor is priceless. Me. Cool. That'll be 200 Rio. Asterisk government. No luxury goods. Also government. Hey, can we borrow your illegal Persian carpets for the Shogun's party? Open debate. Were merchants geniuses or just the worst? On one hand, they invented modern banking. On the other, they also caused 3 separate rice market crashes by hoarding it like crypto bros with Dogecoin. Callback alert. Remember daimyo flexing with gold castles? Merchants one-upped them by funding entire kabuki theaters just to mock them in plays. Oh, look at me. I need 500 kimonos to feel important. PG-13 roast. Let's not pretend all merchants were Robin Hood. Most were that guy who forgot to mention the rat meat in your premium dumplings. Transition. And thus, with paperwork and petty revenge, the merchants won, proving that capitalism will always be the dumbest and most powerful force in history. The tavern fire dims. Somewhere, a last merchant counts his coins, a last samurai sighs over unpaid bills, and a last Ghost Samurai finally finishes his haiku diss track. The streets are quiet, for now. Because history? It's just memes that got too serious. The daimyo's gold flakes have flaked. The ninja's footsteps have faded. Even the ronin have run out of bad poetry. But the vibes? Those linger. So as you drift off tonight, remember, every era has its grinders, its clout chasers, its quiet legends rolling their eyes in the margins. And maybe, just maybe, somewhere, a shogun is still yelling about cold tea. Good night, time travelers. Sweet feudal dreams. End of script. Sweet dreams, time traveler. Want an epilogue on Edo period meme culture? Smash like and comment your dankest historical joke below.